All right. Welcome to Sibs Read Smut podcast. I'm Helen.
And I'm Ned.
Hi, Ned. This is a podcast where we read, rate, review, and make jokes about your favorite, but mostly our favorite romance novels. On today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the Bromance Book Club. This is a book by Lyssa Kay Adams. We both really like this book. And as a reminder, we do talk about the entire book, including the end. So spoilers to come. If you haven't read it yet, go read it. It is a romance novel, so you probably already could guess how it ends, but we will talk about the ending. So there we go. Ned's going to give you a quick rundown of what the book was about, and then we'll jump into it.
All right, summary of the book. Gavin Scott is our main male hero who plays professional baseball in Nashville. And he is on the rocks with his wife. They are on the outs because she apparently has been faking orgasms their entire relationship. And he found out on the biggest night of his career that she had been faking the whole time. He was pissed and moved out to the other bedroom in the house. She got fed up. It was kind of straw that broke the camel's back in the relationship and asked him to leave, and he left. We meet him at his lowest point, and his teammates and some other professional athletes from around the Nashville area kind of find him at his lowest point and go, do you want to save your marriage? Stop being a piece of shit and get sober and, figure your shit out. They invited him to be part of this ultra secret group, this book club, if you will. It's in the title of the book, so you should realize that they become the Bromance Book Club. And upon joining this group, he learns how to save his marriage and how to become a better man and lover, and and gets some Regency smut to go along with it. And so that's, we will talk about our favorite scenes and everything else going forward, but that's a basic overview of what the book is about.
Absolutely. Speaking of romance, Ned, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy VD.
Cheers to you. And cheers to us spending every Valentine's Day together for 15 years.
Yeah.
It is our adult tradition to hang out on Valentine's, I think, since you moved to California and mom and dad started footing the bill for me
to fly you out.
Fly out and visit you in February in the doldrums of Chicago. But I think
it is continued through your marriage, through childbirth. It's been almost 15 years. Or no, this will be the 15th year.
Yeah. And my actual husband was like, I'm like confused. He's like, what am I? Do I have to do anything besides like text you happy Valentine's Day? I was like, no, absolutely not. Please don't. I'm hanging out with my brother tonight. I don't want to do anything else. Don't buy me flowers. Don't be weird.
Yeah. When you flew to LA, it was spent in one of two spots. We were either eating pizza on my couch, watching movies, or we were getting hammered at the bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we've matured, it has leaned toward the pizza and romance movies, but yeah, I can't hold my liquor like I used to. Liquor, I barely know her. Oh my goodness, I'm almost out. But
is that the same bottle from last week?
Wouldn't you like to know? Yes, it is. I just left it up here in my guest room.
Yeah.
And it's working out great. I will probably finish it tonight.
Thank you for moving it away from the mic while you poured, because that in beer commercials and whatever, when they crack it open and go glug, glug, glug into the glass, is one of the worst sounds I've ever heard anywhere in the history of sounds.
ASMR of and that was beautiful.
All right. Well, back to happy VD Day. And I guess VD Day is repetitive, but doesn't matter. It sounds like a Venereal Disease
Day. Thank you to our father for always wishing us a VD Day. That is an EJ.
EJism.
That is our father wishing us a VD day. And he meant venereal disease.
Venereal.
Speaking of venereal disease, the Bromance Book Club. What a great segue.
Perfect segue.
Perfect segue back into the book. What are your overall impressions, Ned? I have a lot of thoughts on this book.
There's a lot of fun stuff in here.
Yes.
First and foremost, it is an odd book romance wise because your two main characters are already married, in love, and have children together.
Yes.
Which is odd. There is the trope. It's not really a trope you see all that often, where you have the two main characters already at their lowest point at the beginning of the book. Mm-hmm. That usually happens towards the end when, shit really goes downhill. But shit's progressively going downhill from the first page on. Yes. And he continually fucks stuff up, which is interesting and weird in a good way.
I did not like that. I loved this book because of the way that the author wrote. I love the cadence, the pacing. I think hilarious. Some of the lines in here are the funniest. I love the way that she does conversation and the one-liners. Fantastic. It gave me the willies, the way that their marriage was so on the rocks. I think the first time we read this, I picked this book for you to read. This was very early in our Ned was reading my romance.
It might have been the second
novels.
book that we read.
I think it was because you liked It Happened One Summer, which is a book we talked about on another podcast. And I was like, well, if you like that, then I got to keep this going. This is going to educate Ned on how to be a good partner to somebody. And that's what I loved about this is it's literally a book about men reading romance novels to improve their lives and their partnerships and just everything. So I was like, what better book for Ned to read? So I did make you read this book.
And the main character is also what the fuck are you guys?
Like you.
No. Yes, I am a professional baseball player. Ladies, take note. I also am a pediatric. Wow, that was not great. I can't even pronounce the title that I was going to say. Pediatric surgeon. So, ladies, hot.
Hop on.
Hop on. But no, he is skeptical about this whole thing from the get-go.
Yes.
Which is also, when he is corralled, which it also, there's an element of mystery to it. So first of all, it starts at the lowest point, which is odd for romance books. And I thoroughly enjoyed any time you can kind of turn a trope or any normalized kind of storytelling device on its head. That was interesting to me from a storytelling standpoint. And then also that there's an element of mystery. They break into his hotel room and throw him in the shower and are like, you're going to meet us at this time in this place, and we're not going to tell you what it's about. And it's weird. Okay, this is a romance book, but are they going to? Is it going to be an orgy? It was I didn't know where this book was going.
How did you not know?
Well,
it's
because
the Bromance Book Club.
They could have fucked.
Back of the cover. Oh my god! They're not acting out the scenes from the Countess.
Helen, we've read other books that where there are straight up gangbangs.
Just the one. I don't know if we've read it.
Just the one. One was enough, Helen.
That was a scarring book. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can even go there on here. I'm sure we will.
We need to let the audience
let it marinate.
Get used to it before that we pull that one out. But yeah. So they invite him in an air of mystery around this. Meet us here, meet us there. Which I personally enjoyed that kind of intro to the book. But apparently you did not.
I just didn't think there was a mystery. I just thought it was.
Well, no,
obviously I knew. Oh, I didn't like the negativity around the marriage. It felt very real. The first time I read this book, it was soon after I had just gotten married, and so I was like, "Oh, geez, that kind of sucks." I didn't love reading about a marriage on the rocks. I just wanted a fun, uplifting romance novel, and I wasn't expecting to go in. And I also read these books with very much of
escapism.
Yes, that's what I'm reading it for. But I also can't turn off my real life social work brain. So the whole time I was thinking like, which they got there eventually, but it's so much of like if she would just talk to a therapist,
Well,
none of this would
when
be
that's the
happening.
interesting thing is on another podcast we talked about the fact that one conversation can solve a
And
story.
the book,
This
yes.
book was not that though. I did not. They had to have multiple talks about multiple things, and
Yes.
there it wasn't just that he had done something. Whatever, there were multi-layered problems with their things, so it wasn't like one conversation could solve the entire plot. It was much deeper elements to their characters throughout. Because she'd been faking orgasms. He learned that he hadn't been doing it. They could have talked about that, but that wasn't the heart of the issue.
Yeah.
The heart of the issue was that she had abandonment issues from when she was a kid, and he had, this people were laughing at him stigma that he felt, and there were much deeper issues that went into childhood that one conversation was not going to solve. So to me, this book does not apply to my
Hmm.
last week's admonition of one conversation can solve the whole fucking thing.
I kind of agree, but I also think that like had they just gone to a therapist where like a therapist could have pointed out to them, you have abandonment issues. And like I just felt like Gavin's issues, the husband, weren't he was adorable to me. He has a stutter, which I think is I think she approached it really well in the story.
Yeah, agreed.
And at first it was like, oh, are you like, please don't be mean to this guy with the stutter. And then it was truly like a lovely part of the story. And he was teased as a kid, but I loved he had a really strong relationship with his parents. Like he called his dad at one point and talked to him about what he was going through. And like, I thought that was an amazing the dad had such great things to say.
Oh, you thought we were the perfect couple? Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm glad you thought that. No, we fought all the fucking time.
Which I love because I feel like people think of our parents like Lou and AJ Don. Like I think they think of our parents as like this amazing couple. They're best friends and like they are, and also like they
They piss each other
bicker, they
off.
piss each other off, and like I think we are privy to that because we're home and they put on a great face for like outsiders. But they're not perfect, and I think that is very important to see. And anyway, so I thought that Gavin's perspective on things, and I just thought he was adorable. And did he need to like reflect on some things and think through? Yes. But then her issues were like deep-seated childhood abandonment. Like she had like significant trauma in her life that she just hadn't addressed. And
Well, she had also poisoned the relationship between her sister and Gavin.
oh my
Hannah,
god,
where like she had talked so much shit
live
about Gavin or
live
Liv, excuse me, Liv, where
Hannah's the sister from the other
Hannah's
book.
the sister from the other
Don't
book.
cross your books.
Don't cross streams. But she had talked so much shit about her husband to her
Mhm.
sister that by the time that they were back on even ground, then the sister still hated him. And she had her own issues from childhood that she was dealing
Yeah.
with. But also, it was like, you talk so much shit about your husband that now your sister even hates this guy. Like, that's not great. That's not ideal. But, I think she's having fun with these standard storytelling devices of these romance novels. And
Mhm.
it's a couple already in love. Weird.
Yes.
Number one, they're they're already falling out of love, so it's kind of like an enemies to lovers sort of situation, but
Mhm.
they're already married, so it's
Yes.
odd. And then he has to start wooing her again and fucking failing across the board, can like a lot, until he starts reading romance books to learn how to do it better. And then she finds out that he's been using these books, and she's pissy about that too. um
I want
yeah
to talk about that. So they I love the device that she uses in this book so the romance novel that he reads as his like assignment from the Bromance Book Club is
Courting the
called
Countess,
Courting the Countess, and it's like a bodice ripper. It's like
which
a
apparently Lyssa Kay Adams is writing. She is
she's
she,
writing counting the
she's
courting
writing courting the
counting
Countess,
counting the Countess,
courting the
courting
Countess,
the Countess. um
which is awesome.
which is great. Can't wait for it. Also, side note, we should probably not, this is not the great place for this. They optioned this with Netflix in 2020 and nothing has happened with it. Is that normal?
Yeah, ish.
Bummer. I would love to
Yeah.
see this.
So, I mean, well, it took Ryan Reynolds, 10 years to get Deadpool made.
Okay.
And that blew it out of the park.
Yeah.
It happens sometime. I mean, sometimes it's the script isn't ready yet, or it's not there yet, or sometimes it's getting people attached, or sometimes it's in somebody's back pocket and they can't get the rights to it again. There's all kinds of dumb shit that happens.
All right. Well, anyway, Courting the Countess is a Regency romance novel, and there was a lot of parallels between
Eerily
Gavin
similar
and
to their
their
situation.
believe it or not. But what I loved about it was like the old English, like lily livered ass
Lily livered
face.
codpiece, and all these, and he starts thinking in these insults and starts saying them out loud. It's hysterical.
That is one of my favorite like devices that she uses throughout the book, is like have it like you, and there's like entire chapters that are just courting the Countess, and so they tell that story within the other book. And so I love
there's interlude there's interludes between chapters of courting the Countess, which is fun. I have that noted on my extensive notes once again.
Okay, I took notes this time. They're just downstairs. All right, so
you didn't want to leave your wine to go get them.
I didn't want to undo the door.
You're soundproofing so that mom and dad can't hear you outside.
Yeah, or my child. I don't care if mom and dad.
Your kids,
hear me.
Lulu's asleep.
Maybe.
But so my next note after fun with tropes is not a straight bone fest. That's my next note.
Positive or negative?
I think it's another instance of her not cowtailing to the normal romance structures. They have a goodnight kiss, starting about midway through the book, and they kiss, and then they have a little hand play around 70% in, and they don't bone until 85%, which is weird. And yes. Sorry for the percentages, folks. I listened to this on from the library. I do not have page numbers.
I could find the page numbers here in my
in the hard copy.
Hard book.
Even though that's a paperback, it sounds better to say hard copy. My hard copy. Oh, and speaking of the callbacks, like the jokes or whatever, I loved the Thanksgiving scene. Our couple, what's her name? Thea and Gavin are still arguing, and Gavin are still arguing, but they show up to this party, this Thanksgiving that she did not want to go to, and immediately upon arriving, the wife of the host wife goes, "Oh yeah, you might want to go out in the backyard, Gavin. Your friend's trying to deep fry a turkey." And he goes, "Oh shit," and runs in the back. And then every successive guy that shows up, when they go, "He's frying a turkey out back," they go, "Oh shit," and run out back. I mean, it's after having seen our uncle almost burn down their house one time, frying a turkey. But it's great because every successive guy throughout the chapter goes, "Oh shit," and runs to the backyard. that made me laugh.
And I don't know if it made me laugh because it's so true to our actual experience, or if it was just funny because they were like, "Oh, the masculine, I gotta go do this."
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic. Yeah, I loved it. The Thanksgiving scene was really well done, and I think it moved the story forward a lot too, in terms of like you got to see Thea with the other wags, wives and girlfriends of the team, which some of their issues come from the fact that they got married really young. They got pregnant outside of marriage, or they got married because they got pregnant.
Yeah. And he was not a professional baseball player yet. He was still in the minors. Yes. And then she got pregnant and he immediately got moved up to the majors. So everyone was like, "Oh, you're trapping, you're trapping him."
So you learn a lot about like their backstory and why.
And the queen bee, that assholey queen bee. Rachel.
She was such a bitch.
Oh yeah. Bitch on wheels, as they say.
Bitch in heels.
I said on wheels.
I know, and I said in heels because she was. One of the critiques one of the critiques I read on Goodreads was like, you can't just like, to make an evil woman, they were like, "Ugh, Lyssa Kay Adams just used the typical, like, oh, she was wearing red lipstick and high heels and she was a total bitch. And I was like, they were like, what? Just stereotyping people who wear high heels and
No, I mean,
lipstick.
she was a bitch that had red lipstick and wore heels. You know, I think it's a little different. I think it's a little different. I mean, she gets put in her place, but good though at the end.
At the end,
that
but
was
it
nice.
takes a long time to get there, and she was just really mean.
Yeah.
In the meantime.
I did not like Mac, which is another friend
Mm-hmm.
and member of the Bromance Book Club, who is like the ladies' man and whatever else. And it's like every other guy that's in this group is there to fix a marriage or fix a relationship or whatever else, except for seemingly this dude who is a straight up, he hits on everybody's wives and he's just an asshole, just a straight up douchebag. And I'm like, that was, you know, it added a little counterbalance to the niceness of the group, but I absolutely hated that guy. And I think it's a credit to her writing that I hated him as much. You know, there's certain characters that you just hate, and it's because they're good. And, you know, like, it's because they're well written is what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, like the mom from Sopranos, or, you know, there's other characters where you're like, oh my God, you're the worst, but you have such a visceral reaction to them because they're written so well. Yeah. And so I'm going to credit Lyssa Kay Adams with the straight the amount of vitriol I have for this asshole.
Well, and I think, but it's a good, I think this side, so this series, there's 5 Bromance Book Club books. So this is the first one, and it intros all of these characters. I think the second book is Liv, the sister who we both hate, and Mac's love story.
Mac.
I think Mac. What did I say?
Max.
I said Mac.
But
okay. I said Max plural because I said it's his story. Mac.
Okay.
So
we'll go with that.
Turn on your listening ears, Ned.
Thelma, check your battery.
Thelma, check your battery.
Good old Sister Act quote.
I got in an actual fight at work about Sister Act yesterday. Somebody was trying to tell me that Oh Happy Day was in Sister Act 1. And I was like, are you out of your mind? Oh Happy Day is in Sister Act 2 when they open the school. I said, Sister Act 1, they go to Reno. They fight the mafia people. Like, don't get me started on knowing Sister Act from Sister Act 2. Carry on. Oh, we were talking.
But they did revamp the church in Sister Act 1. Sister Act 2 was a school.
Yes. And Oh Happy Day, when that little kid sings, Oh Happy Day.
Yeah.
Oh Happy Day.
Who wears the little circle hat. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but you're like, they went to Reno. The whole thing didn't happen in Reno.
No,
we're not gonna fight about Sister Act right now.
We're on the same page about Sister Act.
We're on the same page about Sister Act.
With my coworker.
I'm giving you the George Bush point, or whoever had the Bob Dole point.
Anyway.
Bob Dole.
So anyway, Liv and Mac have a story. Their story is book number 2 of this series. And I don't know if, I mean, I read it. I don't remember it.
Yeah, I've read them all, but she's a chef.
I hated them in this book. I hated the sister. I just feel like she was a chef, and so she works as a chef in this book too, and then there are stories about that. But in this book, she was so negative. And your point about Thea poisoning the well there, I had not thought about that. I just hated the sister. I feel like because she was so negative about Gavin, and anytime Gavin would like try to do something to win her back, the sister would come to Thea and be like,
shit on it.
Oh, well, of course he would do that. Or typical. She was such a bitch about everything. Like, I feel like as a friend myself, like, you follow the friend's lead in their relationship. If you observe something in someone's like relationship, partnership, and you aren't sure about it, you ask them, and then whatever they tell you, if they tell you it's fine, if they tell you it's not fine, like.
But that's if you observe it. And I mean, the flip side of that coin too is
so ugh.
But the flip side of that coin too, and I find that guys really don't give a shit as much as ladies do when remembering, you know, things down the line, where it's like if a lady tells her girlfriends about issues in their relationship, the friends are never going to forget and never forgive the guy, even if the partner forgives her man.
Yes.
You know, and it's like,
Very
so don't talk about shit outside of your marriage, because you talk to a therapist about it, or do couples therapy, or figure it out between the two of you. Because if you poison your friends against him, that issue is never going to be settled. Every time the friends see you, they're going to bring it back up, and you're going to get right back into that headspace of hating him for a thing you've already forgiven him for, over and over and over again. And I felt the sister was doing that ad nauseum in this book, and it was infuriating.
It drove me nuts. And I think I would hesitate to say no, never talk about it, except like your issues. I think you can have a few really good trusted friends who you can say anything to, and they will still like know and love your
But
partner.
there's a difference
whatever.
between talking through your problems and shit talking your spouse.
Yes.
You know, that's the difference, is that if you're trying to work through an issue, that's one thing. But if you're sitting there just shit talking, and your friends pick up on that attitude, and then but they're never going to forget what you said, you know, and it just is going to create a strife. It's, it literally, we're seeing it written on the page in this book. But there are instances where they come back, and even if when Liv is there trying to poison the well, Gavin's kind of inherent goodness bleeds through when they are at home with the girls having a Bromance Book Club meeting, and they're all dressed up. They're all dressed up in mermaid outfits and painted nails, and they had a princess party with the girls.
Yes.
And the daughters and the daughters go to bed, and they're all sitting there arguing about Little Mermaid and how she has to change for a man and all this other kind of stuff, like straight up, like, like tell it sis kind of arguments. And the ladies come home to them throwing romance books behind cushions and under the couch and everything else, and they seemingly just forgot that they're all dressed up in feather boas and painted nails and crowns and all this other kind of stuff. That scene was pretty hysterical, and not even Liv could dampen the ebullient mood that Lyssa Kay Adams created on the page.
We have not discussed the Russian yet.
Oh my God. And in this scene, he is in peak form. The Russian is another member of the Bromance Book Club, he's
a hockey player, I
think he's the goalie or something for the Nashville hockey team. I don't remember what the name of it is in this context. The fake
one from her book.
But yeah, he in this scene, it is alluded to earlier on in another meeting that he is not good with cheese, and he apparently eats an entire pizza that's left over in the fridge, and has gastrointestinal issues. And Gavin tells him to use the bathroom in the basement, which is where the sister Liv is staying, and he blows that mother up, and Liv goes down there when she gets home and comes running back up, aghast, literally, at what the fuck was going on down there. Oh my God, so good. I mean, literally, my face hurts from smiling about it so much.
That whole, like, the way that I feel like she used him for such levity throughout the whole book. Like, there would be a really serious scene. Like, there's Gavin and his wife go on their date. It's like a big deal. And two of the book club members are stalking them.
dress up. You won't even notice us in the background. So they dress up undercover and follow him on their date. And bad wigs, bad hats.
Yeah. The costume's not effective. And once Gavin figures out, like, the wife notices that they're there, she's like, I think people are following us. She has no idea. And he is like, oh, motherfucker. So he goes and like confronts
them in the bathroom and has security throw them out.
But like, the Russian farted in like the middle of like a very serious scene. He's like, you can't interrupt my date. And the Russian's like,
bonk. Yeah.
I just like, as a family who loves farts, I mean, our family loves fart jokes.
Farts are always funny.
Farts are always funny. And so I like just
I once asked a girl on a first date, what do you think about farting? And she said, I think it has a time and place. And I went, I don't think we have a future together.
Tell me more. When was this?
I mean, this was 15, 20 years ago. I mean, this was a very long time ago. But I was like, no, farts are always funny. We very much disagreed about that.
Why? I love it. Did it come up organically?
No, I just asked it straight off the cuff. Like, it's one of the top 5 questions. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and do you think farts are funny? What?
I don't even remember the first time I farted in front of Ben, my husband. I feel like it was
Organic.
It was so organic. It smelled earthy.
I didn't mean the smell. I meant it just happened.
I know what you meant.
Oh, I think I'm having a stroke. I think my head's about to break.
I don't know. I think we both just knew, or we knew farts were funny.
You didn't have to have the convo about it.
We didn't have to talk about it. We just
not on date 1.
Farted under the covers.
The group dynamic of the guys.
Yes.
You know,
their breakfasts.
When they have breakfast together, they do whatever. When he came to them at one point, I forget which meeting it was. It was one of the ones middle way later in the book where he said, "I kissed her," or "I did whatever." He did something that they had told him not to do, and they were stomping and chanting like maniacs or whatever around the room. Like, just her turn of phrase, where like you could just envision these guys going, "God damn it, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, what are you?" And like, I literally could see it happening in my brain, and it was hysterical.
The way that these men interacted, I think they do these breakfasts and they go to the same restaurant, and the waitress has like a funny, banter with them. But they discover things along the way about like Pinterest and washi tape. And the wife, Thea, is an artist. And so part of they're like trying to brainstorm ways for him to like engage with her on that specific, she's going back to school. It's all part of their story. And, just the way that these men are like, well, wait, what's Pinterest? And one of the guys is like, it's what you use to pick out outfits, and there's pictures of us, and just,
oh my god, when he found out that he had
exploding.
that he had a Pinterest page and that his pictures were on Pinterest, and we finally brought it up with his wife. He's like, did you know that about Pinterest? And she's like, duh, like I have tons of stuff on my Pinterest. He goes, did you know that I'm on there? She goes, yeah, there's whole pages devoted to you. Like, I get pictures about you all the time. It was, he's like, oh, like, really? I was shocked. And there's a scene, I forget which book it was in, but another one of her books where the Bromance Book Club boys go to a spa together, and they are like, do we get naked? Do we not get naked? Like, they're having a full on, like,
what if I get a boner during the massage?
Yeah, what if I get a boner during massage? Like, they're having a full, like, to the point where they have to call their significant others and be like, hey, is it okay to get like a boner during a massage? Like, do we take our pants off? I mean, hysterical.
Yes. Very.
Oh my god. But yeah, so they're fucking it up throughout. He demands goodnight kisses from her, which I'm like, and all the Bromance Book Clubs are like, consent, dude, you need to ask, and all this kind of stuff. But he put that as a stipulation, and it seemed to work. It seemed to soften her up a little bit. But other than the kissing, there's no funny business until almost 3/4 of the way through the book. There's a heavy petting session where the kids interrupt. I mean, he's like nuck deep, and the kids are like bang, 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 bang on the door.
So graphic. I don't. He was beating guts.
Smush and tush.
Gross. You're disgusting.
He was giving her the old live long and prosper. This
is a children's show. Jesus.
Reading Rainbow. That's the outro to the episode. All right. So then they have another, just straight up fuck fest in the hotel around 85% in. And, although they've already had their lowest point because it's the beginning of the fucking book, there's another lowest point once she finds out. And I mean, they do it like 19 times in this hotel room over the course of like the night and the next morning. And then she finds his book stash with all these notes taken down. And she gets pissy and he, to his credit, stands up and says, I'm leaving this time, but it's not because I'm mad at you. It's because you have shit you need to figure out on your end. And once you figure that shit out, I'm going to come back and we can be together again, but you got to figure this shit out. And he leaves again, which is her biggest fear. And the sister comes back and apologizes and they figure shit out again, whatever. And it's
like comes through at the end, but it wasn't enough to redeem her at all in my eyes. And honestly, he should have made this freaking ultimatum years ago. Like I just
social
feel like,
work brain.
I know I can't get away from it, but he was punished by her for this whole novel. You fucked up, and so now you have to fix it and you have to do all this stuff. And the club is helping him figure out all this stuff. When in reality, like, this chick just needed therapy and trauma therapy, and like they could have fixed it all with like a few conversations. And she never, whatever. I think what I do love about this book is they break down romance tropes, like you said earlier, very well. And so I loved the way that Lyssa like explained, because she was explaining it to Gavin, the main male character, through like courting the Countess in the club. She was explaining it to the reader as well, but she breaks down like how romance books are supposed to go. So to your favorite part is the grand
gesture.
The grand gesture. So explain that part at the end.
So my favorite thing about all of these books is they especially the Russian is in every book goes, you always run for grand gesture, like, that's how he just sounds in my head. But it's one of these things where he's like you always run, wherever else. And in this book it was funny because he was on a plane going somewhere else for a photo shoot for the team and goes, I got to get off the plane. Like, I'm getting out. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever. So the whole team, all his players that are with him, get off the plane with him and go to do the grand gesture. She is at her father's wedding, which that's a whole other relationship that we don't even need to fucking go into.
Part of her backstory of trauma.
Yeah.
So she's deal with it.
She's facing her trauma, whatever else. But she's at her father's fourth wedding or whatever it may be, trying to get answers and trying to figure out where some of this, deep-seated bullshit comes from. And she gets some answers and goes, I gotta go. She's waiting for them to say their vows so that she can leave and run to New York and grand gesture him. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna do like this double grand gesture, and then he breaks into the church. But on the way there, they have this line where they're running down the sidewalk, and one of the guys goes, why are we running right now? And the Russian goes, you always run for a grand gesture. And the guy goes, well, that's because you parked 7 blocks away. And that made me laugh so hard. It's like, yeah, we wouldn't need to run if you parked closer to the fucking church. Mm-hmm. But they come in, they bust up this wedding and pull them out, and they, happily ever after and blah, blah, blah. But the grand gesture and the always running for grand gesture is, because it happens in every romance book, yes. The downturn happens. Whatever turns them against each other with 20 pages left or whatever, mm-hmm. 2 chapters left or whatever, always happens. And there's always someone chasing the other person, mm-hmm. in, and usually it's the guy chasing the girl, not very often is it the lady chasing the dude. And maybe I'm misspeaking, but that was my first inclination when I read this book. It was interesting that she was going to chase him down in New York and do that, because usually that doesn't happen. Usually it's the dude, going and creating the situation in which he can apologize or, get that one last bang in.
Exactly. But I liked the way that she explained, because the grand gesture happens in almost every romance novel. I mean, there's some misunderstanding at the end, and then they come back together and they fuck like rabbits, and then the whole world is right. And so I think I liked that she explained it as these guys are like learning, as these Bromance Book Club is learning about these romance tropes. So I really liked that part of it. And I was very happy for this couple in the end to be able to realize their issues and come back together. And also, like, being married and having a kid, like, it's hard to read about people who are like going to throw it away and talk about, I don't know. It's like really sad to think about those, like any kind of, there's a whole swath of people who won't read romance books that where kids are involved because it's like too sad essentially, like if things don't work out. I mean, obviously it's a romance novel, like things are going to work out, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, a lot of people get really turned off by kids, and this couple does have 2 daughters in kindergarten.
Yeah. They're young. I don't know how
Maybe preschool.
young they are.
They're like 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5. But anyway, so they do have kids, FYI, if that's a turnoff for you.
In a book.
A book turnoff.
Yeah, if kids are a book turnoff for you.
They can be. There's a lot of book turnoffs. Is there a book boner? Yes, he got his first book boner in this book. Gavin gets a book boner reading Courting the Countess.
Courting the Countess. The Bromance Book Club rates books by how many book boners they get while having the book, and then he is suspect of that whole thing until he gets his first one, and he's like, by God, it's actually true. Egads.
Lily livered
codpiece. Yeah.
Very Shakespearean in their insults, which is very funny. All right, Ned, what would you rate this book? How many book boners?
Well, I mean, I feel like this book was not about boners in and of itself, but it was a good read. I think I gave this 4. I think I gave this 4 out of 5.
Yes, I gave it 4 out of 5 book boners as well. I actually liked it reading it, so I reread it.
Me
said
too.
I wasn't going to, and I did. I read it twice. I read the original and then the hard copy. But I would definitely give it, I don't know, I might give it 5 out of 5 on the second read. I gave it 4 on the first because I think what I was wanting out of the book at that time was just a complete, I just wanted
escape.
A total throwaway book, and this book was not quite that. Like, it had more to it, more like substance that I wasn't expecting. So I would almost give it 5 out of 5 now because I laughed so hard. And any book with like farting and like a character has GI issues, automatically loved it. His stutter
you
was
changed
so
my vote.
endearing.
I'm giving it 5
because of the farts.
Because
I
the
give
farts.
This a 5 book owners.
The farts and the pooping.
But there was some, I mean, she is funny, like this author, hilarious. And yeah, I don't know, I really liked it the second time. I loved it even more, so I'm really glad I read it again instead of my initial impressions. But
and I listened to the book again, and it was as good as I remembered it being. It was different than the Fishfuckers. It happened one summer that we read on another podcast, which was raunchy as fuck, and this was a different style. It was interesting to read a different brand. Brand meaning author. All these authors have their storytelling aspects. There's very funny parts to Tessa Bailey's writing as well.
Yeah,
this was a different style I think this was a different style than Tessa Bailey, but equally as enjoyable.
Very much. I am curious from you. So I made you read this because I was like, oh, this is like a bunch of dudes reading romance novels. So in my mind, I was like, I'm going to make Ned read this, and then he's going to love romance novels. And you do. But I don't know if it's because of this book. Like, how did this book rate in your like history reading like romance novels. Did this one make you want to read more, or was this just an enjoyable book and you didn't think like, oh, I want to read more about this?
No, this book was interesting to me because while I did enjoy it as the second like romance book that we had read, I love a series of books. You know, whether it's detective novels, spy novels, whatever it may be, I love seeing characters grow and change over the course of a series of books. And I will say this book got me more ingrained into reading them because by the time we read this, I think the third or fourth book had already come out. So I went straight to the library and rented the next one or two or three, whatever I could get my hands on at that point, and listened to them straight down the line. So, you know, it got me more entrenched into reading romance. Yes. But it was, and that's one thing like that spy books and romance has a lot of is, you know, you have these small towns where this whole friend group, and they go through an entire 4, 5, 6, 7 book series arc of each one of them falling in love with somebody else. I enjoy that brand of storytelling, so it's right up my alley regardless of the subject matter. And if there's a bunch of people boning in it, then all the better.
Why not? there was a line, I don't know why what you just said made me think of this. There was a line from Liv, the sister that I hate, where she was talking about how Gavin was staying in the guest room and his sheets were probably so crusted over.
They could snap in half or whatever. Yeah.
It's just like, okay, so all right, that is a funny joke.
Jerk it off.
And yeah, not one that I've
Nocturnal emissions.
What
called
did
wet dreams, Helen.
As a child, I thought
erections and eructations
were the same thing.
Erections are boners. Eructations are farts. Both of which we talk about a lot.
It's true. I mixed up eructations and erections. Mom and Dad were listening to a book on tape while we were driving to Hilton Head, and they were talking about erections, and I thought they were talking about erections,
which were farts.
Which are farts. So I just thought this whole scene was like
them farting farting at each other in bed
a lot. And I think Mom and Dad were like, because we had our like headphones on with our Discman, I'm sure. And so at some point they were like, "Did you kids hear that?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it was just about farts." Oh God. They didn't know whether to like laugh or be like, "Oh shit, our child is an idiot."
Yeah, you were much younger than that, but it was the difference between tentacles and testicles. Where we were in Italy, you know, fucking white privilege.
Okay.
And yes. And it was I'm woke, and and it was and yeah, Helen was like, "I don't want to eat testicles," and and Mom and Dad are like, "Shh, not at the table, it's tentacles." Oh man, yeah, you were an idiot, baby.
Thank you so much.
Oh
yes, now I know the difference. I know it very well.
Yuck. You are my sister.
I love tentacles. Let me tell you.
Weirdo.
Octopus.
Good Christ.
Ned, next week, do you want to listen to let's listen to a Sarah Adams novel for our next podcast?
Sounds like a plan. We
can fight over which one we want to read because some of them are more closed door than others. So we'll pick a Sarah Adams for next week's podcast. And we'll go from there. How does
sounds like a plan?
Okay,
I like it.
Good. Let me just chug my drink. Night's over.
Cheers to that.
Happy Valentine's, Ned.
Yeah. So this has been Sibs Read Smut with Ned
and Helen. Stay smutty. Oh. Did you have something to say?
I was going to say, and we'll see you next time. And then you were going to say, stay smutty. But that's fine. That's fine, Helen. You can try and upstage me. We all know it didn't happen.
Should we do that again?
Click. No, we're not doing that again. That's the way it's gonna be.
Stay smutty.
Smut, 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 smut,
Smut, smut. Save that for the bloopers. Oh, these kids.
Yeah, I
Kids
haven't
these days.
to this day. I've not read any geriatric romance yet.
Does that exist?
Who knows? But I'm into it.
Ew.
Click.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. Stop recording.